Continuing in the Rambam Maimonides learning program of Chabad, Lubavitch, there's 2 tracks, they learn a chapter a day or 3 chapters a day. I'm on the 1 a day track. So it's Rambam, Yesodei HaTorah, chapter 5. The entire house of Israel are commanded regarding the sanctification of God's great name. As Leviticus 22:32 states, "And I shall be sanctified amidst the children of Israel." Also, they are warned against desecrating his holy name, as the above verse states, "And they shall not desecrate my holy name." What is implied? Should a Gentile arise and force a Jew to violate one of the Torah's commandments at the pain of death, he should violate the commandment rather than be killed, because Leviticus 18:5 states concerning the mitzvot, which a man will perform and live by them. The mitzvot were given so that one may live by them and not die because of them. If a person dies rather than transgress, he is held accountable for his life. When does the above apply? With regard to other mitzvot, with the exception of the worship of other gods, forbidden sexual relations, and murder. However, with regard to these 3 sins, if one is ordered, transgress one of them or be killed, one should sacrifice his life rather than transgress. When does the above apply? When the Gentile desires his own personal benefit, for example, he forces a person to build a house or cook food for him on the Sabbath, he beeps a woman, or the like. However, if his intention is solely to have a Jew violate the mitzvot, more severe rules apply. If the Jew is alone and 10 Jews are not present, he should transgress and not sacrifice his life. However, if a Gentile forces him to transgress with the intention that he violated a mitzvah in the presence of 10 Jews, he should sacrifice his life and not transgress. This applies even if the Gentile intended merely that he violate only one of the Torah's mitzvot. Okay? All of the above distinctions apply only in times other than of a decree. However, in times of a decree, meaning when a wicked king, like Nebuchadnezzar or his like, will arise and issue a decree against the Jews to nullify their faith or one of the mitzvot, one should sacrifice one's life rather than transgress any of the mitzvot, whether one is compelled to transgress amidst 10 Jews or one is compelled to transgress merely amidst Gentiles. Okay, if anyone about whom it is said, transgress and do not sacrifice your life, sacrifices his life and does not transgress, he is held accountable for his life. When anyone about whom it is said, sacrifice your life and do not transgress, sacrifices his life and does not transgress, he sanctifies God's name. If he does so in the presence of 10 Jews, he sanctifies God's name in public, like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah in the book of Daniel, and Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues. Are those slain by the wicked kingdom above? No, these are those slain by the wicked kingdom above whom there is no higher level. Concerning them, Psalms 44:23 states, "For your sake we have been slain all day. We are viewed as sheep for the slaughter." And Psalms 50 verse 5 states, "Gather unto me my pious ones, those who have made a covenant with me by slaughter." Okay. When anyone about whom it is said, sacrifice your life and do not transgress, instead of sacrificing his life, he desecrates God's name. If he does so in the presence of 10 Jews, he desecrates God's name in public, nullifies the fulfillment of the positive commandment of the sanctification of God's name, and violates the negative commandment against the desecration of God's name. Nevertheless, since he was forced to transgress, he is not liable for lashes, and needless to say, is not executed by the court, even if he was forced to slay a person. The punishments of lashes and execution are administered only to one who transgresses voluntarily when the transgression is observed by witnesses, and when a warning was given. As Leviticus 20, verse 5 states concerning one who gives his children to the worship of Molech, I will turn my face against that person. The oral tradition teaches that we can infer that person and not one who is forced to transgress, who transgresses inadvertently, or who transgresses because of an error. If concerning the worship of false gods, which is the most serious of sins, a person who is forced to worship is not liable for karet, nor, needless to say, execution by a court, how much more so does this principle apply regarding to other mitzvot of the Torah? Similarly, regarding forbidden sexual relations, Deuteronomy 22:26 states, do not do anything to the maiden. One who could, however, escape and flee from under the power of a wicked king, and fails to do so is like a dog who returns to lick his vomit. He is considered as one who worships false gods willingly. He will be prevented from reaching the world to come and will descend into the lowest levels of Gehinnom. Okay, if Gentiles tell a group of women, give us one of you to defile. If Gentiles tell a group of women, give us one of you to defile. If not, we will defile all of you. They should allow themselves all to be defiled rather than give over a single Jewish soul to the Gentiles. Similarly, if Gentiles told a group of Jews, give us one of you to kill, if not, we will kill all of you, they should all allow themselves to be killed rather than give over a single soul to the Gentiles. However, if the Gentiles single out a specific individual and say, give us so and so, or we will kill all of you, different rules apply. If the person is obligated to die, like Sheva ben Bichri, they may give him over to them. Initially, however, this instruction is not conveyed to them. If he is not obligated to die, they should allow themselves to be killed. Who's Sheva ben Bichri? In Samuel, 2 Samuel chapter 20 relates that Sheva ben Bichri called for a mutiny against King David after the kingship was restored to him following the revolt of Absalom. Yoav, David's commander-in-chief, pursued Sheva, who took refuge in the city of Abel. Yoav besieged the city with the intent of laying waste to it. A wise old woman implored, some say it was Sarah, implied on Yoav not to destroy the city. He agreed on the condition that Sheva ben Bichri delivered him shortly afterwards. The city's elders had Sheva executed for rebelling against the king. Okay. Kitzur, he was a rebel. I think you cut off his head, I think so. Sheva ben Bichri. Yep. Okay. Alright, so basically only if a person is obligated to die already, then you can give over. Okay. Next, just as these principles apply regarding being forced to transgress, they also apply regarding sicknesses. What is implied? When a person becomes sick and is in danger of dying, if the physicians say that his cure involves transgressing a given Torah prohibition, the physician's advice should be followed. When there is a danger to life, one may use any of the Torah prohibitions as a remedy, with the exception of the worship of false gods, forbidden sexual relations, and murder. Even when there is a danger to life, one may not use them as a remedy. If one transgresses and uses them as a remedy, the court should impose the appropriate punishment upon him. What is the source which teaches that even when there is a danger to life, these three sins should not be violated? Deuteronomy 6:5 states, and you shall love God your Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. The words with all your soul imply even if one takes your soul. With regard to the killing of a Jewish person to heal another person or to save a person from one who is compelling him, it is logical that one person's life should not be sacrificed for another. And the Torah has established an equation between forbidden sexual relations and murder, as Deuteronomy 22:26 states. This matter is just like a case where a person rises up against his colleague and slays him. When does the above, second here, alright, not bad. When does the above, that one may be healed in using other prohibitions only when one's life is in danger, apply? When one uses them in a way which affords satisfaction, for example, when one feeds a sick person, insects, or creeping animals, or chametz on Pesach, or when one is fed on Yom Kippur. However, the prohibited substances are used in a way that does not grant satisfaction, for example, one makes a bandage or a compress of chametz on Pesach, or from orla, or when one is given bitter tasting substances mixed with forbidden foods to drink, since one's palate derives no satisfaction, is permitted even when no danger to life is involved. Exceptions to this leniency are kalei hakerem and mixtures of meat and milk. Deriving benefit from them is forbidden even in a way that does not offer satisfaction. Therefore, they may not be used as a remedy even in a manner which does not grant satisfaction, except when there is a danger to life. When someone becomes attracted to a woman and is lovesick to the extent that he is in danger of dying, although the physicians say that he has no remedy except engaging in physical intimacy with her, he should be allowed to die rather than engage in physical intimacy with her. This applies even if she is unmarried. He is even not to be given instructions to speak to her in private behind a fence. Rather, he should die rather than be given instructions to speak to her behind a fence. These restrictions were instituted so that Jewish women would not be regarded capriciously and to prevent these matters from ultimately leading to promiscuity. Whoever consciously transgresses one of the mitzvot related in the Torah without being forced to, in a spirit of derision, to arouse divine anger, desecrates God's name. Therefore, Leviticus 19:12 states, regarding taking an oath in vain, for you are desecrating the name of your Lord. I am God. If he transgresses amidst 10 Jews, he desecrates God's name in public. Conversely, anyone who refrains from committing a sin or performs a mitzvah for no ulterior motive, neither out of fear or dread, nor to seek honor, but for the sake of the Creator, blessed be he, as Joseph held himself back from his master's wife, sanctifies God's name. There are other deeds which are also included in the category of the desecration of God's name, if performed by a person of great Torah stature who is renowned for his piety, meaning deeds which, although they are not transgressions, will cause people to speak disparagingly of him. This also constitutes the desecration of God's name. For example, a person who purchases merchandise and does not pay for it immediately, although he possesses the money, and thus the sellers demand payment and he pushes them off. A person who jests immoderately, or who eats and drinks near or among the common people, or whose conduct with other people is not gentle, and he does not receive them with a favorable countenance, but rather contests with them and vents his anger, and the like. Everything depends on the stature of the sage, the extent to which he must be careful with himself and go beyond the measure of the law depends on the level of his Torah stature. Okay? The converse is also true. When a sage is stringent with himself, speaks pleasantly with others, his social conduct is attractive to others, he receives them pleasantly, he is humbled by them, and does not humble them in return, he honors them, even though they act disrespectfully to him. He does business faithfully, and does not frequently accept the hospitality of the common people or sit with them, and at all times is seen only studying Torah, wrapped in tzitzit, crowned with tefillin, and carrying out all his deeds beyond the measure of the law, provided he does not separate too far from normal living and thus become forlorn, to the extent that all praise him, love him, and find his deeds attractive. Such a person sanctifies God's name. The verse in Isaiah 49:3 he said to me, Israel, you are my servant, in whom I will be glorified. Refers to him.